It's your boy, P. Diddy, a.k.a. Tire God 6000, coming at you live from Copper Palace Studios with my co-host,
Edward Molter.
and we're coming to you again to talk to you guys about our special friend, Alex Moyer, who was on a previous episode, who lives in Iowa, worked for, I guess, a company called PB Live.
Yes. But they went around to a bunch of major paintball events and interviewed pro players and different big names in the industry and stuff like that. I think they even did product reviews at certain times, and he was one of the guys that went around and did the interviews. So
Okay, so my relationship with Alex is we learned speedball from you together at the same time at Paintball Palace. And then we played on Fearless together.
Yep.
And then we would go to fields like Action Acres together. We went to the Dogs Field together with Alex.
Yep.
Even, I think, he talked on the previous episodes out at Charles's house out in Cresswell.
Yeah.
He
was around when when Fearless bought the field, their private practice field. So then we went out. You guys started practicing out in Pleasant Hill all the time.
Yeah, and he was on multiple teams. Like he was on Black Sheep.
Yeah, he went from leaving Fearless to Black Sheep, and Black Sheep was pretty much the last team that I know he played with, and still. Like that's still a team technically, but they just get together and have fun, like go and do big games and stuff like that. So
and he played on your guys' Woods ball team too, back in like one of the first iterations of it. Like he was talking about being pro.
Yeah, I don't know if he actually ever played then. I think he had pretty much stopped by the time Rogue had started playing. But he was, he played around a lot of the guys that were originally part of the team for sure, because most of them came from TBS, at least the ones that helped start the team. So
yeah, and so he would go to, like in the Pacific Northwest. Didn't he go to a couple clinics?
Yeah, he went to Las Vegas to do interviews. He went to Huntington Beach. Where else did he go? He went to a couple other places to do interviews that they paid him to go to.
Yeah,
so.
And he's an all-around player. Like he was doing airball.
Yeah, he plays
woods ball.
Yeah, he's a paintball player, a true paintball player. It doesn't matter what kind of paintball it is. He likes to play it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some games about him at Super Game, or some stories about him at Super Game.
Oh yeah, there's tons of stories of Alex at Super Game.
He's kind of like. He's a known character in the Pacific Northwest paintball community.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to talk to him today and see because there's just so much to paintball.
Yeah.
And so having someone with that history and experience of going, because you can play paintball locally, but actually going out to these huge tournaments, it's just like Mppl Vegas.
Yeah.
It's just so different compared to like WCPPL or like WCPS.
It's each step you go, it's a different experience. So like you can play your local events and they're fun and you meet all kinds of people. Then you can travel a little bit out of state and or you can go to what they call regional events. So there's all up and down the West Coast. And then you can go to national events where you travel all over the United States. So, and each one's a different level and different experience. And yeah.
And we'll get into it during the interview, I'm sure. But having someone out there, and I think that this was 10 years ago that he was working for Paintball Live.
Yeah, it's quite some time ago for sure.
So having someone from the Pacific Northwest or someone locally to be able to go out and do the interviews to get an idea of what it is like to go to these events or what it's like to play these events or getting in and talking to the players.
Yeah.
And being able to just go on YouTube 10 years ago and see what it was like to talk to players. There's not a whole lot of content on just like basic interviews. It's way better now with podcasting.
Yeah.
Like there's 2 or 3 main paintball podcasts, right?
Yeah. There's
Mark Makowski.
Carl Mikowski.
Carl.
Carl Mikowski has one. He kind of went away from doing it for a while, but he's back doing it pretty regularly now. And the big one right now is play the game, which is done by Tyler Harmon and Marcelo Margot from the Team Dynasty. So
do they go in pretty deep?
Yeah, and they do almost weekly podcasts with all kinds of different people, and now they're starting to get into even outside of the sport of paintball. So they've had an MMA fighter on it. They had a marketing guy that deals with like all kinds of sports as a marketing agent, and then they're just this last one was a professional football player that I guess actually plays paintball too. So they just had him on this last weekend, I think.
Are they crossing over stories of how other sports could be related to paintball? Like
sometimes they do. It just depends on who they're talking to. Like some of it's like the old school paintball players. They want to get all the old stories out of them and how paintball was back in the day compared to today. Like they've had Chris Lasoya and Bob Long on there.
Yeah.
Oliver Lang on there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, going back to old school mechanical with the auto cockers and hiding behind planks of wood.
Crazy stories of back in the day. Things that happened back in the day that would never get away with nowadays. So.
Like the sniper on the other side of the field taking out players.
They haven't really got too much into it. They've talked about it here and there, that incident.
Yeah. Do you think the movie spawned off that?
Which movie?
So there's a movie called Bonus Bald.
I've never seen that.
We'll put it in the link in the subscription in the description.
Yeah.
But it's a comedy. It's a farce, and the dude was trying to win. Let's say it was World Cup.
Yeah.
And he went to great lengths to win World Cup, and one of those things was he went and hid and cheated.
Yeah, I mean. So there's it used to be a magazine called Paintball Media back in the day. They recently started doing all kinds of. They started a Patreon page, right? And so they released a bunch of their old stuff from the Patreon, like pictures and videos that they had from back in the day. But they've also been doing documentaries. And they did a documentary on that whole thing. So.
Alex, can you hear us? Alex.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, buddy.
What's up?
Oh, well, we were just going in the beginning and trying to... It's doing the clicking thing again. I thought I fixed it.
Yeah, it's clicking real bad on my end, too.
So before you called, we started talking about our past with you and your past in paintball, and you could go and you could go over that if you want to. Like, we didn't talk about anything like a dirty past. We said that there might be some stories about Super Game.
Oh, there's Super Game's like the fucking tip of the iceberg, pal. For a long time, I was larger than life there.
You've always been larger than life when it comes to the paintball community.
Oh yeah, no, that's probably why I fit right in. I always thought I deserved more than what I had.
So, how did you get involved with PB Live? Like, you went to them? And
no, dude, they came to me.
Okay, and then can you start off and kind of explain like what Paintball Live was, like what kind of company it was, who was running the company, where did the company start?
Yeah, so they were like a 501c, I think it is, a nonprofit. And like Ryan McDonald used to be a baller back in the day, never pro or nothing, but he was involved in the community. And like B. Paxson, she was on the board of directors, and some other people were on the board of directors that I don't know who they were or even any of that. But a cat by the name of Little John Marcus was lived there in Salem, and he was kind of a nobody, but he knew the right people apparently. And he came out to Action Acres when I was with Black Sheep and wanted to do some commercial for one of their sponsors. And I basically just took his project from him.
Do you remember who the sponsor was?
Some water bottle company that made like reusable metal water bottles. It was a nobody. They didn't last long. But I don't know if they were financially sponsoring or just giving water bottles. I'm not sure how that whole thing worked out. But basically, I shot a commercial for them, and I took over the commercial. Was like, no, we should shoot it like this, and then he should have it like that, and then I should run in like this. And he's like, okay, let's do it. And then the commercial, he liked the way that I worked. Anyway, I asked if I'd ever done press, and I was like, oh, no. But I mean, I did video editing and stuff like that in high school. Like, I had a pretty basic understanding. I'm not afraid to talk to people, obviously, as you guys know.
Yeah. And
so he had me come to like a couple small time like local events there. Like I think it was Paintball, like TAW or something around Albany.
Yeah.
Some small little scenarios like Shrek and Spike and those guys were there. And then we basically played for free because we were with press, and then interviewed people in between games and whatnot. It was kind of like a super mini super game, like a day-long super game. But there was only like 100 people there.
And so you would come on site, you would play for free, and then you would try to make videos to post up to YouTube on behalf of PB Live?
No, what we'd do is we'd shoot it. So pblive.tv was like our own website. We're basically Behind the Bunker before Behind the Bunker. So we were like a paintball news broadcast. And once a week we'd do a live broadcast. And what LJ would do is we'd pre-shoot all this stuff on the weekend. He'd go home and edit it all up. And then during the live show, he'd play it during the live show.
So it would be like a weekly live show with a recap.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, this weekend we went down to Albany and Paintball Events or whatever, and we played this local event. And so then they'd play like an interview, and then they'd talk about, up-to-date stuff on the live part. And then, let's recap again. And then they'd play like another interview or something from the weekend. And because Ryan lived down in Southern California and LJ lived up in Salem. So they kind of had, most of the West Coast covered. And Ryan would do the same thing, but down in Southern California. He'd go to events down there and interview and stuff. I don't even know if he played, but he'd go down and interview and whatnot. And then that would make up most of the content for the show.
So you were like a news correspondent?
Yeah, I started out as LJ's camera guy. And then he had me do a couple interviews, and I mean, you guys know how I am. I like to get, a little crazy, and it worked out real well. He really liked my personality, and so it just grew from there. Like, they sent me to like WCPS because there was no one really covering speedball, so I'd go to like the local speedball events and do interviews there. And instead of just covering the actual event, I would get like views from speedballers, like, hey, what do you guys think of the new marker? Or what do you guys think of this new rule in Mppl? Or how do you guys feel about this coming layout for this tournament? Like, so I was basically getting interviews from speedballers about speedball, and basically to throw them a bone, I'd do an interview and that'd get tossed in the show somewhere too.
So how much content did you guys create? Because I tried to find it today on the internet. I couldn't find anything on YouTube. I couldn't get on their website. It said the host wasn't there anymore. Their Facebook page doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah. There's a little bit on YouTube from some of the shows, pblive.tv, if you just look at that on YouTube.
That's what I was looking for.
There's very few. And like where I feel it all turned was when I got, I guess, promoted by LJ enough that I think he just got tired of editing fucking videos. So when he would send me these events, he would then have me edit all of my own material and then post it on YouTube. And the plan was then that those videos they would pull it off of YouTube and put it on the show during the show. And that just quit happening. So I was basically getting shitloads of content and then spending hours of editing to make like, if you go to my YouTube page and watch these videos, it looks like a third grader did them because I had like no real experience. I had to teach myself how to do it. So it's like pretty hokey. And I only had like 2 approved like intro outro songs that I could use. So it wasn't like I could use whatever music I wanted. I had to use like this song.
Yeah, because copyright.
Yeah. So it was like a lot of them have the same fucking music, which anybody that's edited videos, when you're doing the same fucking intro and outro every time, sucks. Really
Yeah,
bad.
it does.
Paul's got a big old smile on his face right now.
Other than my intro fucking rocks.
Yeah, mine doesn't. Watch one video. It's some rock song that's from a band nobody's heard of. It sucks.
Okay, well you kind of went through a couple things there. So they gave you the ball and told you to run with it, but they didn't give you any editing tools or anything, any type of guidance.
No. And I basically had to use what I'd learned in high school with like, we did videography or whatever it's called in high school, but we were using still VHS back then.
Yeah.
So I was literally like putting 2 tapes into a mixer and like hand rewinding it. And then like basically one step ahead of physically cutting the tape and fucking taping in the new section.
Yeah, you have the 2 VHS players next to each other, and you have to hit the play pause button simultaneous, and then hit record. And yeah, that's how I learned how to do video production too. It sucks, and it always looks bad.
Yeah, and so like now they gave me like a free program, video editing program. Gave you like a laptop, and I honestly feel LJ was kind of like the doom for it. He's in prison now, so I don't really give a shit if anybody hears about it. But what did
he go to prison for? You can't blow over that.
I can go over that. It's not good. Let's put it that way. He didn't like kill or murder anybody, but he's not coming out. Let's put it that way.
Okie dokie.
Anyway, I know I'm leaving everybody hanging, but no. So, like, basically what happened was, as I was growing and growing, nobody was covering really national events, and so Paxton was on our board of directors, and I don't even remember exactly how it happened, but basically it came down, if you can get to this event, we can get you in. Like, we can't pay for anything because we're nonprofit, but if you can get to the event, we can get you a press pass and everything you need once you get there. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go to Huntington Beach. Like, how about Huntington Beach? Yeah, that works great. So I went to Huntington Beach, and like my first event, go ahead.
What year was it?
Fuck, I don't know, 2009.
Okay.
The Naughty Dogs, I think it was the first year the dogs went to die. And in PPL.
So that would have been, it would have been 9 or 10.
2009, 2010, 2010.
Yeah, because it would have been their last year professional. And, And
yeah.
It was the same year that they started the silver semi-pro team.
Yeah, and that was the same year that the Silvers won. And technically,
and
according to the rules, the Silver should have went to pro, and the Dogs should have dropped semi-pro. But then they just said, "Fuck it, we're pulling the plug." But that's the story for a different show. Yeah.
So at this point, how long have you been working for the nonprofit?
Like maybe 6 months.
And have they paid you a single cent?
No, we're a nonprofit, so like it was told up front, like I'm not getting paid for anything. Like this is voluntary. Like we're using we're driving ourselves. We're doing all the work ourselves. Like the whole goal was to provide an actual paintball news outlet for people.
I thought nonprofits were like charities.
Basically,
how do you have a media business that doesn't make any money?
Because we weren't trying to turn a dollar. We were just trying to get like information out.
Okay.
Nobody covered paintball. There was no Behind the Bunker. There was no paintball shows back then. None. Zero. We were it.
Okay.
There was nobody.
Do you remember how many views or
Not very many. I mean, well, I know on a live show we'd get like a couple hundred people in there on like the live part of it, because we had like a little chat board on like the website. So while we were doing a live show, people could talk. And we get like a couple hundred, maybe I think the most was a couple hundred people in there. But the views afterwards, because they post it to YouTube, the views afterward were not great. Probably 1,000 people or so, a couple thousand people.
Yeah, that's worth something.
Yeah. But So I don't even remember how it happened. Basically, it came up that if I was going to try to go to Huntington Beach, and it was like, hey, we'd love for you to cover it. If you can get there, like, we can get you the press pass. Like, that was the extent of them helping me out at Huntington Beach. Like, we can't pay for food, travel, none of that. But if you can get there, we'll get you a press pass. And so I needed a camera guy, and I needed a sound guy. So I enlisted Charles Steiner and Dane Lamper, and the three of us flew down and rented a hotel room, and then basically covered the event. And B. Paxton was the big supporter because she was still involved with Mppl at the time. So she was the big reason, because she was on our board of directors, she was able to get me a press pass and was able to get Charlie and Dane a press pass as well. And then basically it was just cut loose. And so I looked at it from, hey, it's, NPPL was the Huntington Beach event was like the big event where vendors are rolling out like their new stuff. So it was, from a speedball, because I was really the only guy covering speedball for them, that, hey, this is like my niche. Like, these guys do woods ball. I know everything about this aspect of paintball. What would I want to know about? Like, so I would just basically go to vendors and say, hey, I'm with PB Live. And ironically, most of them knew, or had heard of us. They didn't necessarily know me, but they knew who PB Live was.
Yeah.
And they would, oh, okay, yeah, we've got this new marker, or we've got this new regulator, or new tank, or new headband, or whatever. We've got all this new stuff. And so I would do like a quick interview with them and give them the opportunity to go over what they had, what they're unveiling for the new year. Because as an airballer, that's what I want to know. Hey, what is KM? I couldn't go to Huntington Beach. What are they unveiling this year?
Yeah. The booth interviews are cool, and they have come a long ways, because I don't remember anything from 2006, 2007, 2008.
Bro, if you go to my YouTube, it's ridiculous. These interviews are so shittily edited. Like, I did it all myself.
And you shot you shot it all on VHS?
No. This was all digital. In high school, we did a VHS. Like, this was all digital.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In my head, I put it together.
No. I had an MP3 player with a microphone going into it and headphones. So Dane, my sound guy, he could kind of control the audio a little bit, where if it's too loud, too quiet, he could control that. And then Charles, my camera guy, he would be able to work the zoom in and out. If we wanted to zoom in on a product, he would be able to go into that. And
does Charles have any type of videography background?
Probably not. Dane didn't either.
So you're standing there with your shade-eating grin and a microphone, and do you remember any of the products you went and looked at or saw?
Oh yeah, like the alien eyes that never got released.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
The angel eyes.
Yeah.
We did them. I was there when Ninja unrailed the 360 rig for the first time.
That's legit.
And like, so there was like some key products that were like the HK turf shoes.
I remember those.
Like, yeah. Shoe Goo was your friend if you owned a pair.
Yeah.
Oh, did they fall apart?
Oh yeah, terribly. But when they were new, nobody made a paintball shoe.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So like, they were the first ones to do it. So it was like new and exciting of, holy shit, somebody's building a cleat specifically for paintball.
Was that
like, I don't have to go buy, a set of soccer cleats and then, we're playing on turf. Well, then I got to try to find a tennis shoe that works fairly decent.
Yeah, the $20 specials from Marshall's.
Ross, brother. Ross.
Yeah.
It's funny is nobody makes a cleat anymore.
Well,
no.
Who made it before HK was? Was it Exalt?
So the first cleat ever technically built for paintball was JT.
JT made it was like a slip-on one, wasn't it?
No, they were.
I remember
they
those.
were high top cleat with like small rubber cleats on it.
Didn't it have a zipper on the side?
Yep.
Wasn't it like, it's kind of like a Thor low high top with a zipper on the side?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were the first ones to make them. Then Dye made a pair shortly after that, and then they both went away. Then Exalt came out with their low top, like actual soccer cleat with removable cleats.
Yeah, the Exalt ones were the shit.
Yeah,
like
If I
everyone.
remember right, though, the HK ones came out before the Exalts.
No, they can't. The Exalts came out, and then HKs came out.
If I remember right,
HK was the last one to make a cleat for paintball specifically.
If I remember right, every HK product comes after the product they copied.
Probably.
Yeah, they're still doing it. They just did it again.
They always do it.
They just released new tanks with skulls on them right after Infamous released skull tanks like 6 months ago.
How the fuck do they get away with it? I'm not saying it's bad shit. I just remember I was I had Exalt. I think you gave me your pair, and then I bought a pair.
I still have a pair of Exalt cleats.
And even when they're falling apart, they're super awesome. And be able to switch between the metal and the actual plastic cleat, that was a good cleat back in the day.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So you're going around checking out the vendor booths.
Yeah. And then Gary Baum from Paintball Photography, the Gary Baum. Basically, if you see a paintball photograph being used for advertising, he's probably the guy that took it. Or back then, in any of the magazines around the world, he's probably the guy that took it.
Yeah.
And he's still in the game. He runs actually now the PSP, the press affiliation part of it. Like, if you want a press pass with PSP, he's the guy in charge of it. Back then, he was just a photographer. I mean, obviously a well-known, everybody who was anybody knew Gary Baum, except for, me and my two schmoes, because we were nobody.
Yeah.
And, but he knew PB Live, and so he found out that that's who we were with. And he was basically like, oh, hey, have you interviewed, like, this pro team? Have you talked to this player? Have you talked to this team about this pickup? And I'm like, no, like, where do I? Oh, yeah, come on over. And he would, like, take me to the team, and they'd be like, hey, what's up, Gary? And he'd be like, hey, this is Alex, PB Live. He wanted to do an interview, talk to you guys about whatever he wants to talk to you about. Oh, yeah, sure, not a problem. So Gary, like, totally facilitated all of that. And I don't know if he was on the board of directors or not. I want to say he was, but don't quote me on that. And totally facilitated me in most all of my interviews that first year. Of, pro players that I'd watched, coming up in the divisional player myself, watched these guys on like DVDs or at pro games and just been like, holy shit, like these guys are good. And then now Gary's like, oh yeah, this is so-and-so. Oh, hey, how do you guys feel coming into the first event of the year after winning, the cup last year? And then all of my interviews were riffed. Like, I never once had any pre-written material ever.
Yeah, no shit, Alex.
And it kind of pissed a lot of the guys off because they said they'd do an interview, but they have no idea what they're going to be asked.
Oh.
So a lot of my interviews are like off the cuff, like they're genuine responses. Like, there's no rehearsed or time to think. It's kind of flow with the interview. Wherever the interview takes you is where you go. And there would be interviews that I would get so pissed when I was editing, why didn't I ask this question? And because it just, caught up in the moment.
Yeah.
Going with the flow, and the flow didn't go that way, so I didn't ask.
Yeah, it's really easy to see it when you're, from the bird eye view of it. So so when you're standing there, like, with your idols of pro paintball, and you've just been given this golden ticket to just do whatever the fuck you want at Huntington Beach, or you could walk up to Ollie Lang with Gary Baum saying, hey, this is my dude. Do you have you got 5 minutes to talk to him real quick and do an interview? Like, are you shitting yourself? Like, is Chris Lasoya standing there going like,
Chris Lasoya was the only dude I ever got nervous interviewing because I don't know why, but I'm a fucking big time fanboy.
Yeah.
The pony boy, dude. The pony boy does it for me.
Yeah, well, I would too. And I'd imagine, was he intimidating? What was he like?
No, he was super laid back. I mean, they're all super laid back. They're just people. And that's always the attitude I have. Like, they're just people, you know. They've worked hard to get where they're at. Some of them were just handed the golden ticket, but most of them worked their asses off for a long time to get where they're at.
And some of them freaking shot people in the back of the head from 2 feet away.
Yeah, but hey, you know, fucking if you're dead, get off my fucking field.
That's right. This is my house. Get out.
But no, like I never got starstruck, and part of that was, you know, I wanted to keep it semi-professional. I'm already using a fucking microphone that's plugged into an MP3 player. My buddy's basically videotaping me on a step above a phone, like video. Like I had to buy like a tripod so we looked halfway professional.
There's just one dude carrying it around in his hand. He's not even using it.
There's no reason for a tripod. Charlie had a really steady hand. There was no reason for it, but I felt already so ghetto that I had to do something, like, so we didn't look quite as ghetto.
I think I know where that tripod is.
Yeah, but it always came, probably holding up a sprinkler out of DHP, but it always came down to like, why am I here? Like we're the only ones providing any content. So like, this is my job to ask the questions that people want to know and to get the content that people want, because reality is there's nobody doing it. So like, okay, yeah, it's really fucking awesome that I'm here doing these interviews with like my idols, but I'm gonna ask them the questions like, what was up with that fucking penalty? Why did you play on? What were you thinking when that call was made that you disagreed with and flipped out on?
Oh, did they get all weird when you would say stuff like that?
No, dude, 90% of them straight fucking no problem. And I don't know if you guys remember who used to own, God, what was it, PSP? Remember Sean Walker?
Yeah, he owned the MPPL.
Yeah, the SPL.
Yeah.
He was at Huntington Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, guess what, bro? Fucking asked him. And he just gave the roundabout, you know, actually, this is what really happened.
Yeah.
But that was super controversial at the time.
Yeah. That's
there was
Sean
shitloads. But there was shitloads of rumors flying around. And so I said, I want to get it straight from the horse's mouth, man. Like, you have not publicly come out and said shit. So you want to talk about it? And he was like, sure, dude. Honestly, I want to get it aired out. And I was like, well, then here's your opportunity. Let's fucking do it.
I don't know the whole story. Like, Eddie, you can probably tell me. Sean Walker owned.
So, Sean Walker's owned several businesses over the years. He's owned the MPPL twice.
Oh, take money and run.
Yeah, he's owned the MPPL 2 different times. Sank it both times. Yeah. He owned part of Camp Pendleton at one point in time.
Yeah, he was part owner and the operational manager.
Yeah.
Wasn't he local here too at one point?
Well, he went to.
Yeah, he went out of the Palace.
Yeah, he was here going to U of O for business.
That's not a good. It's not a good review for the U of O if Sean Walker graduated for business.
Perfect. I don't even know if he graduated. That's a perfect.
So, yeah, he was here for school. I don't know how him and Kurt met or whatever, but he started working at Paintball Palace and then eventually became the manager there.
He probably walked in and was like, hey, you want to turn $1? Well, I'm at business school. Yeah. I played paintball. If you give me an opportunity, I guarantee I'll turn a profit in your first year.
Whoa.
Anyways, he went
Sunday.
Went on to manage and then talked Kurt into opening an outdoor field, which they did. And then they started the series, which was pretty successful. And then eventually some shady shit started happening around the palace.
It seems like that follows in places.
Well, at this point in time, most of the shady shit that was going on wasn't a result of him being there. Several people that we all know were not involved, but were blamed for it. And then the person that was actually the one to blame for it, some of us know.
I know.
Anyways, so Sean ended up leaving and then went and worked for Bone Break up in Salem.
Oh wow.
War Paint, and helped him reinvent the Pan Am series, which was at the time the regional 7-man series that traveled up and down the West Coast, which then became basically what you know as the WCPPL right now. So,
Yeah.
So do you guys? Do you guys know how he got to the? Since you were interviewing him, Alex, how did he become owner of the MPPL? Lose it, get it back, and then lose it again.
I can tell you that.
Oh
Yeah, I mean that's pretty common knowledge.
So,
People have been around for a while.
I don't know exactly how he got on the board with the MPPL, but eventually Chuck Hench.
His ownership at Camp Pendleton went a long way.
Yeah, but Chuck Hench was the one that ran it at the time, and then was slowly getting out of it. And Sean took it over as the board of directors guy, and then eventually grew it a little bit further, and then 7-man basically started to sink, and he was in charge of the biggest 7-man event around at the time, and it tanked.
The only major one around.
Yeah, it tanked. They sold it to a local company in San Diego called Pacific Source or something like that. I can't remember exactly the name of it. Something. And they had it was an investment agency basically, and they put him in charge of it again. And then they made him the president of it, and it lasted one more year. And then they realized that there was no money in it, getting money back out of it, and they bailed out. And that was the end of the MPPL.
Was that before we went to Vegas and played Pump?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was 2010 was the last year of 7-man, the way it had been for so long, and then 2011 was the last year of MPPL.
Yeah, and as far as paintball goes, when you think of major tournament series, it's MPPL and PSP.
Well, yeah, at the time it was.
Dude,
yeah,
there was a shitload. Like at that time, Edmonton had just won the World Cup for PSP, and then in the off season they walk in, and I think they won MPPL at Huntington Beach.
I remember that.
No, I think Excessive might have won, but anyway.
Because the whole thing is can people who go and play PSP come over and just change the format and have
it was the opposite. People that were playing MPPL were going over and playing PSP.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, the idea of if you can win at PSP, can you come over and win at MPPL?
Yeah, and pro teams were playing both divisions all year.
Yeah.
And so it has that. It adds that extra flavor, that extra element of knowing, whoa, these guys just wreck house.
Yeah,
and the Race 2 format was ran totally different back then, too.
Yeah, well, the original PSP, you were still being coached on the sideline, so...
Yeah.
It was a lot different between the two formats. So teams that were really good in PSP weren't always good in 7-man, but it also was the same way with 7-man teams going and playing in PSP.
How I view it is there's no do-overs in 7-man.
No, there's not. And the major difference is the creativity, right? In 7-man, it's the same thing with like 10-man and what's going on in modern day paintball right now with 10-man being such a big thing again, and
I always loved the layouts of 7-man. That was my big draw to it. Was the fields, dude? The fields just flowed.
But it was the creativity, right? You had one game.
I'm just thinking of the giant bunkers that didn't make any sense sometimes.
You had the one game, and you had to put as many points in that time as you could during that game. You had to get as many kills. You had to try and get the flag. You had to try to get the pull, right? Because the most amount of points.
Even though you win, you still may not be going to finals.
Yeah. It was everything counted. Every body alive, every body killed, every flag hang, every flag pull.
Flag pull.
Yeah. I just went and jumped in with my old team last weekend, played a 7-man event at our local field here, and we barely squeaked in. Like we won one game, lost one game, and tied 6. Stalemated 6 games. And squeaked in by like 20 points, and then ended up taking third place.
Those fucking points add up.
So like, but that's what 7-Man was about. It wasn't just the game, but it was like how you did overall. And in modern format of like X-Ball,
it don't matter.
It matters how you do in the match, right?
Yeah,
you play one game, you lose that point. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah. You come back out.
I mean, you'll fucking submit to the point. Fuck it, save the time.
Exactly,
we'll give them the point because we're gonna come back.
And you're playing the same team consecutively, like so many points. So there's only so many things that you have to try and key up on to stop them or isolate certain situations to make your game plan work better.
Yeah, MPPL is a gentleman's game. There's,
the creativity, right?
Trust me, far from it.
Well, I just mean like there's so much more to it. You go and you watch a PSP match that's an hour long, and it's just people blaring paint at each other, especially if you go back to X-Ball.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And then at the end of the point, it's just a point. Where MPPL, it's classy. It's every alive body, every dead body. Every
it's also what I think is killed where, I mean, the economy has a lot to do with it, but where the height of paintball was in between 04 and 09, that's probably the best years, like the biggest years of paintball. There was tons of money in it. Pro players were getting paid money.
Yeah.
Like almost on all the teams. There was times where some of the biggest teams were getting paid to go to practice. Their players were getting money to go to practice at mandatory practices. Like that will never happen again because we've gone away from the growth of paintball. Even though all the companies and everybody says the same thing all the time, let's grow paintball. They're not really doing it. They advertise all the advertisements within the industry. It's never outside the industry. Like, I mean, Dynasty was sponsored by Intel.
Yeah.
And going on the fucking what the hell was that big tour with all the punk bands that used to go
the
around.
Warped Tour?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Warped Tour.
They were sponsored to go on the Warped Tour and set up a little booth talking about freaking talking about paintball and follow the entire Warped Tour.
Wow, I didn't know that at all.
Dude, Warped Tour came to a couple events too.
Yeah. It was...
Dude, there was, God, what was it, 07, 08? Stoned Assassins played a game, literally ran off stage, or off the field onto the stage and performed in all their fucking gear.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Well, they used to have... At San Diego, at the Commander's Cup, they used to have a stage outside the vendors area where all the local bands would perform throughout the weekend.
And Stone Assassins is Cypress Hill for anyone listening.
Yeah, for those that you don't know, that was Cypress Hill.
Yeah.
But I guess I take that back. That was another time that I did get starstruck, was when all of us were down in San Diego with Fearless.
Oh, and you went and hung out with the Stone Assassins?
No, just be real. And I didn't really hang out with them. I just kind of like bullshitted with them for about 10 minutes. maybe scored a bag or two, but yeah, dude, I was just like the whole time, like, I can't fucking believe this. Like, I grew up listening to you, and now I'm playing, like, we're both like playing in the same tournament. Obviously different divisions, but
yeah. So what? Like, back to the Sean Walker thing. So you're like a good interviewer would do. You want to crush the conspiracy rumor mill, and you say, "Hey, Sean, we come from the same city. I want to know, what is the black and white, or what do you want to put on record?"
It was more, what do you want to put on record? Already knowing him, I had a pretty good idea that probably wasn't going to be, on the right side of the truth, but. I'm not there to do that, right? Like, I'm not today's Fox News where I only report the things that I want people to hear about. Like, it's paintball, not politics. So I wanted to provide the information that people want to know. And people wanted to know. People may have been making accusations. The rumor mill was running wild. What do you have to say? I want to hear your side of the story of what happened. Regardless if it's true or not, I want it straight from the horse's mouth. And he did. He gave me the interview. And it actually was one of the few interviews I did that actually played on the show.
Oh, so they actually did play some of your stuff.
Yeah, not a lot of it, but some of it. My producers, so their biggest flaw within PPL was that if you had a press pass, you also got into the VIP section. And the VIP section back then had beer. And you didn't have to pay for it. Because they were sponsored by Sapporo.
I remember that players party where they're like, yeah, there's 2 kegs back there and it's all free. And I went to drink it and I was like, can I pay for something else?
Yeah, this tastes like shit.
Yeah, it's the worst.
And then there's Fuzzy who's like, fuck it, if it's free, I'll hold my nose and drink it.
Yeah, I'm kind of different now, but back then, yeah.
Well, yeah, me too. But back then I didn't give a shit. So like, and my producers used to get pissed because I'd send them like all of my raw footage. Because at the time I think that first year I wasn't editing anything. I was just basically literally mailing them the SIM cards. And they were like, what the fuck? Like, you're wasted through this whole thing. And I'm like, I'm not though. Like, I very adamantly, I might have a beer or two throughout the day, but like, I'm here to do a job and I'm representing Paintball Live. So I was trying to be as professional as I could. It wasn't until, okay, my interviews are done. I'm done with my job now. Now I can fucking hang out and drink and party.
How about what the fuck? You're not paying me any fucking money. So the fact that you're going to come at me and try to tell me what I can or can't do for these interviews, for this material I'm giving you for free.
They're providing me the press pass to get these interviews.
Yeah, but how much was your plane ticket?
I'm representing them. Right? It'd be like me wearing my work shirt or like going to a work function and getting wasted.
Yeah, but they pay you at work, Alex.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. I openly volunteered for this, right? I volunteered for this.
Yeah, I know. I'd be pretty quick to tell them to go fuck themselves, though.
Yeah, not me, because I was like, you got me into like the no access areas of this event to talk to vendors and players that I would have no access to.
I guess for us three, I know that paintball's in our hearts. And so it's easy for me to throw like, stones, knowing if I had that same situation, be like, fuck yeah, I'll do this for free.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
And call me, an attention whore. Wouldn't be the first time. I wanted to get out there. I wanted to be that guy getting those interviews, asking the questions, I wanted to be that guy. Hey, we got the first access to this new marker that just released. Nobody has this yet. I got the interview. I got the guy who built it at the booth to give me the full rundown on it.
Yeah, here's Tim Montresor with the new Lux.
Yeah.
That would be cool to go back and look on like the first Lux that came out. And if you had an interview with Tim Montresor, especially now, that'd be gold. Yeah.
And like the shitty part is like, as after a couple years of doing this, I now know these vendors. I know these players. And vendors are like, here, take a bunch of like shirts. Here, take a bunch of headbands. Take a bunch of fucking, take this new regulator. Try it out. Do a review on it. Let me know what you think. I'm like, okay, I'll mail it back to you. No, just keep it. It's yours.
Huh.
And like, I would like the whole purpose, like, so I'll use KM, for example. They used to make, goggle straps. I think Underprivileged has them now.
No, KM still does their stuff, but they're not big in there anymore.
Yeah. So Leaf with KM, he was the owner operator. I got in tight with him, and great dude. And he, even back when we went divisional with Fearless down to San Diego, he was running it back then, like grassroots kind of guy. And so I got in with him with the press, and he would give me like 10 hats or like a dozen goggle straps and be like, just give these out at events when they're doing, interviews or stuff back in Oregon. Like, here's some swag to give out. Like, here, as almost like a sponsor.
That's crazy.
But it sucked because like I would try to get footage of it so that, hey, you know, KM was kind enough to donate this stuff to us. Here's us giving it like donating it for like the prize packages. You know how they have raffles and stuff at like the old WCPS?
Yeah, let me sweeten the pot a little bit.
Yeah, hey, you know, we'd like to donate this. And like I did it at Super Game a few times, donated a bunch of stuff, and just basically said that it was from PB Live. And so that, you know, we're spreading the word. And it got to the point where like none of this stuff is getting aired. And like I'm doing commercial, almost basically like a free commercial for them where, hey, we've got these new goggle straps, you know, check out KM straps at, you know, kmstraps.com. Head over. We've got these, we've got those, we've got some of these. This is our new release for the year. And then, hey, buddy, when we're done, here's some hats and stuff. And then none of this stuff got used on the show. So it's like I'm getting all this free stuff to give out, and then none of the material's getting used. So it like started getting to the point where it was like, fuck, I'm getting all this free shit to give away, and you know, you scratch your back or my back, I'll scratch yours, but you're only scratching my back. Like I'm editing. That's when I started editing my own stuff, was because none of it was getting used. So I just started doing the finished product. So they didn't have to do anything. All they had to do was pull the clip off of YouTube and put it on the show. And that still wasn't happening.
So you were being a brand ambassador.
Trying to be, yeah.
You're like, I'm trying to remember that movie. There's a graffiti movie with Banksy, and this guy was following around graffiti artists, and then he just kind of just became one of his own and started doing his own thing.
Yeah, which is probably what I should have done, but
it's kind of what you were doing. You were like flying underneath the radar and just continuing without them actually like encouraging you or giving you any support or.
Yeah, I mean, they were still getting me the press pass, which was asinine to me because they, like Oklahoma D-Day, my first Oklahoma D-Day was, for the most part, paid for by them. And I showed up, team I'd never met before, team I'd never played with before. That's who I was with. Camped out with them. They knew me through one of my producers, and basically was their shadow for the week. Played a couple games, played all day Saturday, the main game with them, but spent the week taking photos, getting interviews, doing video work, and not 1 minute of any of the material I got was ever used.
Did they ever say why?
No, because my contact to everybody on the show was through LJ, my local producer.
And so, did you ever bring it up to him?
Yeah, and he would just, you know, tell me, oh, you know, they love you. We're going to use it next week, or it was always an excuse. And part of me wondered if these people even know who the fuck I am.
Yeah,
like does anybody on the board? Like, I went up to be the last Huntington Beach I went to, which I think was the last one they actually held. I had to go meet up with B. Like, I went to the press booth and they're like, who are you? And so I was like, okay, I just fucking drove to Huntington Beach and I don't have a press pass. What am I going to fucking do? So I found B and went and talked to her, and she's like, oh yeah, okay, come with me. And so she took me up. I think Camille was her name, was running the press at the time.
Yeah, probably.
And she was like, hey, this is Alex, he needs a press pass, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, okay, yeah, here you go. And that was like the ending of it for me, because that's when I was like, she wasn't like, oh, hey, Alex, you know, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. It was more like, oh, yeah, I've heard of you. It's real awkward, really awkward. And like, I still got my press pass, but it was so awkward that I was like, clearly what I'm being told by LJ is not factual, because, you know, apparently according to him, I walk on water to them. And then now she's like, wait, who are you again? Like, not literally, but, you know, that's how I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did it feel like you were out there making all this stuff and maybe that no one was really sharing it with everyone else that was working at PB Live TV?
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, that's what it was. I was editing my own, all these commercials, all these vendor highlights, team interviews, and none of it was getting used. None of it. So towards the end, like the last year, I was just like, fuck it. I'm going to still provide all this information. That way, if they want to use it, they can, but I'm taking this to the bank.
So did you start posting it on your own YouTube channel and just being like,
I was the whole time.
And you're like, I'll just do this for me? Or at what point do you decide to stop?
Well, I stopped when the show stopped. Like, supposedly, what I was told was funding ran out, but I think just viewership ran out. And I honestly feel part of it was that nothing relatable was really being posted. And the shows just kind of quit happening. And it's like, well, here you have this plethora of information that you weren't using. Like, I'm not saying that could have saved it, but you didn't even try. Like, all you're posting is woods ball shit, and like it's basically like like what we're doing now, just a couple guys hanging out bullshitting. But we're not supposed to be that. Like, we were supposed to be a news outlet, so we're supposed to be providing information. Like, hey, here's the new gun, here's the new blah blah blah. This, there was a huge shitty call made in the final game, and this team ended up winning. We've got the interview after the game with both teams of what happened. What do you feel happened?
That'd be crazy. I'd watch that.
And then
they don't have that now. They should have that now.
And none of it's getting used.
Come right out of the pit. Can you imagine?
Yeah, dude, for real. Like when you watch live PSP events and they're down in the pits, hey, an interview after this, how do you feel about this point? Like a CNN ESPN broadcaster.
Yeah. Like Dave Baines, you just pulled off a 5-on-1. How do you feel? And he's like, I feel fucking excellent, Alex. Like,
and then you go to the other side, like, hey, I know you feel you got cheated on that call. Like, can you tell me what happened? Like, while the blood's still flowing.
Yeah, with the adrenaline.
You can't hide that. Like, that's straight raw emotion. This motherfucker
Can you imagine?
Cheated us, and these goddamn refs didn't call it. And now it's 4-on-1. We're definitely fucking taking it to the house.
I would love to see you interviewing the Russians. It'd be like Bert Kreischer trying to talk like to the Russians.
Did you hear they're making that movie?
I heard they're making the movie.
Did you hear who's in it?
Yeah, Mark Hamill.
Yeah, it's playing his dad, I think.
Father. But could you imagine, Featheros coming off the field or Mishka, and you're just like three beers deep, and you're like, "Hey, Houston Heat, how you doing today?" And they're like,
It would be pretty epic. I never interviewed them, but they were still the Russians then.
Yeah.
But that would be like, that was the content I was going for. Like, anybody can just go and interview, hey, how you liking the event so far? Oh, we love it. The refs are great. The weather's great. MPPL puts on the greatest event ever. Like, if you guys want to have a great time, you really need to come check out an MPPL event. Like, that's what you're going to get 90% of the time.
Yeah, but that doesn't tell you anything like an MPPL event. Do you remember the amateur series of the D3 or the D4 team that we watched back in the day when they were competing in all the MPPL events and they were trying to win?
Yeah. Soldiers of Misfortune.
Yeah, and so watching that and seeing like them lose and them win and going through the struggles and actually seeing what it is to be a team in those leagues gives you an insight. This like, this is the best event, everyone should come play it. Bullshit. You got to have some type of nitty gritty. It doesn't have to be horrible, but there's three videos still on YouTube that I found.
Yeah, and I'm in none of them.
There's Joe Amodia. Scenario Paintball Films with executive producer Aaron Nepar.
Okay.
And then the World
This is PB Live?
Yeah. World Paintball Union, WPBU on PB Live, James Boatler and Tomcat Cunningham of WPBU World Paintball Union on Paintball Live.
Oh, yeah. So Tomcat, he's Canadian, and he covered like the East Coast basically. And he did his own thing for a while after PB Live folded up, and he never really caught on either.
Did you Did you ever think about like just getting with Gary and just trying to continue and be like, Gary, is there any way you can find a way to get me press passes if I can keep showing up to these events?
He could definitely do it. I mean, I've run into him at like D-Day, just there to play, just not there to do any press at all, just to play, and we ended up bullshitting for like an hour. So like he definitely still knows who I am, and like yeah, I probably could, but you know. You chase the dream long enough, at what point do you say, like, okay, time to throw it in? Like, I would love nothing more, but they, you know, ask yourself, who owns media in paintball right now? It's one company.
Yeah, it seems like it happened with all the paintball companies right now.
Yeah, they're all owned, media-wise, with one company. And they... You know, I think we all know who I'm talking about.
The overlords.
Yeah. And you can't compete with them. I mean, these guys are funneling so much money into it. They have top of line equipment. They got a fucking camera that runs over the top of the field. Like, I can't compete with that. You have all the top names in paintball doing all of their commentary. Anybody that's doing any of their like on the field interviews are either A, ex-pro players, or B, they have a multimedia degree. So these guys aren't just doing the interviews, they're probably doing a lot more behind the scenes as well. It's like professionally ran, just like the NFL, you know? You don't have some guy that, oh, I really want to get the news out there. Sure, here's a microphone. Why don't you go interview, you know, LaDainian Thompson or whoever. No, these are people that have a degree that have spent their life in college learning about this, and that's who you're going to pay to go down there and do that. I
would still pay big money to watch you fear and loathing your way through all the PSP events.
Dude, Vegas, I think we know how Vegas went. I don't know if your viewers do, but that was like legit how it went. Like Vegas was like the end of it for me. I knew like the wheels are off at this point. Like this is probably my last
I think
event.
that's what needs to happen. That should be the next Tasercast kind of episode. We should save up some money and get a video camera and send Fuzzy to Vegas and just videotape the weekend.
That's what I'm saying. If we give Fuzzy a briefcase full of drugs and send him to an event.
You don't need to anymore, dude. I'd fucking die. My heart would explode if I took drugs. I wasn't even on drugs then.
No, I'm just saying
alcohol.
I'm just saying we give you an alcohol budget.
Yeah.
And a video camera and just let you go around in Vegas for like 2 days.
Didn't you get robbed and get in a fight and blacked out and then woke up the next day and did interviews?
Yeah. I didn't get robbed. I did get in a fight dressed as Macho Man Randy Savage, though.
And punched his roommate out.
And I didn't punch him out. I punched him once, and while I was reenacting what happened, I didn't punch him out. He didn't even get a black eye. He didn't even have a black eye.
I punched him and just like this.
I gave him a shitload of pop brownies for it. So
was it? Who was
Thomas.
That's what I thought. It was Thomas.
Yeah, it was Thomas. Yeah, no, I was. You know me, I'm the last to go to bed, so everyone else goes to bed, and I'm, you know, partying hard, fucking pussies. So, like, it's super game when that happens. Like, I can either sit up and drink by myself, or I can just throw in the towel and go to bed. And typically, I would just go to bed when nobody was up anymore.
I can bring up so many super game things.
About the time, like, when I pissed myself?
I was just gonna say.
I thought it rained. I thought it rained only from my waist down.
Hey Eddie. What, Fuzzy? Did it rain last night? No, I don't think so. Then why am I soaking wet? Oh, wait a second. It's just my waist.
Yeah, no, it wasn't even that quick. It was like, yeah, I'm soaking wet, and you're like, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty cold. Maybe it condensated. I'm like, but it's so weird. Like, I'm only wet from, like, my waist down. Oh, shit.
Hey, can you get me some underwear out of my back?
Yeah. Can you reach into my car and chuck me some underwear? And to be fair, I didn't even have a tent. I just straight up had an army cot popped up next to my car.
Yeah.
Like,
Was that the same night you fell
roughing it.
into what's her name's tent?
Oh yeah, Julie. Kevin Jackson's wife. She'd never been to Super Game. Kevin had to work. So she hung out with like me and Eddie and all those guys. And of course I'm up partying all night. So she's, partying with me, and we go back. She's like, I'm going to go to bed. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go back and keep partying because I had to keep coming back to get beer out of my cooler. Well, I finally come back, like, ready for bed, and I tripped over her fucking tent stake and ate shit onto her tent with her passed out in it. And everybody wakes up to her like, oh, God, Fuzzy, like, get off of me. Like, Fuzzy, get off of me. Like, oh, God. And I'm just laughing. Like, everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? And like, somebody, I don't remember who, somebody had to help me off. And yeah, it was a shit show.
Oh, that was so fucking funny.
Yeah. And like Vegas, like I said, we were there, to be fair, we were there around Halloween was when the tournament was.
Yeah, it was in October, mid-October.
The Monster Mash.
I decided, and I don't know if any of you guys have ever been to Vegas around Halloween. Everything's decked out. Fremont's got like Halloween-themed concerts on every corner.
It was the fucking coolest.
It is. It really is. And so I decided I'm going to dress as Macho Man. Like, I'm going to go in costume when we go out and party.
Was I there when he dressed as Macho?
Yeah, you were there.
I think you were. I don't remember that.
It was probably the last year you ever went.
Yeah.
To a national.
You guys were all like, oh, we got to play in the morning, so we're calling it a night. And I'm like, fuck, all I got to get up and do and just bullshit with people. So fuck it. I'll stay up all night.
Yeah, because the next day they come out and they go, did you hear what happened to Alex? He was gambling all night, gambled all of his money. I didn't gamble all of my money. Someone picked a fight with him.
That did happen.
They were trying to throw him out of the casino. He went back
to his... That did not happen.
He went back to his room, took a bunch of pop brownies, beat the shit out of his roommate, and then I see you interviewing somebody, and I'm just like, this man is a fucking tank.
Yeah, that did happen.
I was like, some people are just cut from a different branch, and that is Alex.
Yeah.
Because I was up to like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Because I woke up every morning going like, I fucking hate this city. This is such a shithole.
And then there's me who's like, I fucking love Las Vegas. Like hanging out my window that isn't supposed to open, that is wide open.
Yeah, they don't want you to jump out. I love
this city.
Well, when you wake up in Vegas and you look out the window, it's just air conditioning units, and the ones that are broken, they just leave next to the new ones. So it's just this wasteland, and you're like dehydrated and hungover, and you're like, fuck, here we go again.
Yep. Drink a bunch of water, pop some fucking ibuprofen, eat a pop brownie, and then fucking maybe take a shower if you got time, and then back downstairs. Let's get her done.
Yeah, don't wear your cleats into the hotel, please.
No, never. I didn't have to worry about it. I was there with press, so I didn't have to worry about cleats. Yeah. No, dude wanted a shot at the title, and I retained the title.
Did you hit him with the belt?
No, I fucking...
From the top of the...
No, but I hit him with a chair.
I did.
We took out a cocktail waitress. Yeah. I punched him like 6 times in the face.
People around you are thinking that it's just a bit.
No. People were legit freaking out. Like, I was blacked out, so I had to like get information from other people of what happened, because I vaguely remembered any of it.
Oh man, I'd kill for surveillance of me fighting somebody.
I tried to get surveillance video from it, and they wouldn't show it to me because it was on the casino floor. They weren't allowed to.
Oh. Yeah.
But here's the thing. You ever watch late night TV and it's like, world's dumbest criminals, here we are at a biker fight in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh,
and
yeah?
It's like 2 biker gangs going at it on the casino floor. Mark my words, someday there will be a video of here Macho Man Randy Savage gets the shit kicked out of him. Like,
yeah, you never know.
It'll surface someday. But dude, it was so wild. Like gambling, I was so drunk that I wasn't dressed as Macho Man Randy Savage. I was Macho Man Randy Savage. And so I'm gambling. Oh yeah, brother, give me another one. Yeah. Like just going for it. And dude apparently walked in, ripped his shirt off, came straight to me. Pushed me out of my bar stool. I got up, asked him what his problem was, and he just started fucking throwing blows.
It's Randy's brother. How dare you dishonor my brother?
Yeah, and so
there was people going up to him in the next morning going, "Oh yeah," as we were walking through the lobby.
Oh, and he wasn't in character anymore?
No, they were just randomly walking up to him and going, "Oh yeah."
That's fucking cool.
Do you remember the little old lady? Oh, hon, are you okay? Yeah. No, I ended up in full mount on that dude at one point, and just like, he's on his back, I'm in full mount, and I just started dropping haymakers into his face. And he quit fighting back, like I knocked him out. And luckily, I don't know why, but like the little switch kicked in my head, and I just got off of him. I put my hands on my head, and I just started screaming for security at the top of my lungs. And like, dude gets up, and I'm like, have that oh shit moment, like we're gonna go for it again, and then security just comes out of nowhere and tackles the shit out of the guy.
And they didn't give you any shit?
No, I've kind of blacked out again. Like I remember I got handcuffed. And then I blacked out again, and then I came to in a back room, like in a cubicle in a back room.
Oh, I would shit myself. Have you seen?
And I was like, I thought I was in jail. Like I didn't know I was still in the casino. I thought I was in jail.
You're so lucky.
Like, I was like, oh shit. And about that point, I'm like trying to piece together what the fuck just happened. A side door opens and two like cops, actual like, it says Vegas police on their chest, like come walking out laughing. And I'm like, am I under arrest? And they're like, no, you're free to go. Never in all my years have I seen someone approach getting an assault charge and then just for whatever reason get off of them, put their hands on their head and call for security. Like clear cut self-defense. Like whatever you did, props, because you were approaching the assault charge when you got off of him. And I was like, oh, crazy. Well, what's going to happen to the other guy? Oh, no, he's going to jail. Like, oh, okay. Like, so what happens now? And like, they're uncuffing me, and like, security guard comes out, and he's like, yeah, we're going to escort you back to your room. And I'm so drunk, I was thinking, like, this is house arrest. Like, they're going to take me to my room, and I have to stay in my room for the rest of the night. And so I'm like, shit, like, this sucks. And he's like, oh, no, it's since you're staying in the hotel, it's hotel policy, I have to take you to your room. All you have to do is open your door. You don't even have to go inside. You just have to open your hotel door, and then you can go back down and gamble. I'll even hold the elevator for you.
I see you like on the way back up to the room. You're like, we're gonna stop by and get a drink real quick.
No, that was long done. But yeah. So then I open the door and fucking turn on the light, stumble in, and Thomas wakes up and he's like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Bro, like my shirt's half ripped off of me, like my hair's all fucking pulled out and shit." I'm like, "You're not gonna fucking believe what just happened." And so I kind of went through the play-by-play, and apparently during the play-by-play, I ended up connecting a few times on Thomas.
You're using him as like a wrestling buddy?
As he's the guy, I'm showing him what happened. And he makes it seem like I beat the shit out of him. He didn't even have a bruise. Like, there was no black eye. He didn't even have a bruise.
No, I never said that.
I think the most traumatic part was that I awoke him from his sleep, and then he basically immediately got punched.
Well, yeah, that's basically how he explained it to everybody the next day was, Fuzzy freaking got in a fight last night. He comes in the room, stumbles in, and goes, "Hey, look what happened to me," and then clocks me in the face.
Punched me just like this.
Yeah. But to be fair, he did eat a shitload of my pop brownies, so he kind of had it coming. Waking up the next day, nobody was there. It was like noon, and it's the last day of the event. And I'm like, oh shit! Like I've still got like 3 interviews I have to do, and I pull out my phone. And like Charlie and Dane have called me like 6 fucking times. Like, where the fuck are you? I've got like 20 missed text messages from everybody. Like, are you okay? I'm like, oh God. And so like, I don't even know if I took a shower, dude. I like brushed my teeth to get the fucking whiskey taste out of my mouth. And like, basically changed my clothes and went downstairs and just, I knew I only had to suck it up for like 4 hours. And then I went down
because you didn't do any interviews, and the event's 4 days long, and you didn't do any interviews, right? You did them all on the last day.
I did most of them on the last day.
And then you had to get in the car and drive all the way back home with me and Paul.
Well, I rode back with you and Paul. I'm pretty sure I slept almost the whole fucking way.
You did pretty much sleep most of the way.
Yeah.
You finally woke up about Reading and said, "Hey, do you guys need me to drive?" And you drove the Medford. And then you're like, "I'm done."
Yeah, that sounds about right. But to be fair, I was up all 4 days and you guys weren't. So
no. I was just glad that you did, because Paul was worn out and he had to work the next day.
Yeah.
And
I probably went home and slept for another 12 hours.
Yeah, and I drove pretty much that whole way.
Yeah, no, I remember driving into Vegas being pissed at you, Fuzzy. The rotors in the car were warped, and so I was like sick. And we get into Vegas at like 3 a.m, and something that you did, I don't remember what it was, but then we go to the bar and we start drinking, and then I just, within like 2 or 3 hours, I went back to liking you again.
Yeah. I don't remember what it was either, but yeah.
Well, that was because we went and got those 3-foot drinks.
Oh, was that it? Yeah, I was trying.
Those margaritas, those big old long.
No, we went and sat at a bar.
Tuesday.
No, we went and sat at a bar. It was the only bar that was open in the casino, and then we watched black dudes yelling at a transsexual, saying like, "You a man? You a man? Get away from you, man!"
That's right, because we couldn't check into our hotel room until like noon, and it was like fucking 6 a.m.
Yeah,
that's right.
And none of the bars were open.
That.
Yeah, they're like, "You don't want to fucking be a man," and we're sitting here. I'm like, "Fuck yeah, we're in Vegas."
Yeah, and you were passing out, like you were trying to sleep, like in the hallway there at the counter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just kept bugging the shit out of you, like, "You're a fucking pussy, like, we're in Vegas, you need to get up and drink, Paul." That's why you were pissed. And then once I got some drinks in me and you got a few in you, then we're good to go.
We were good to go. Yeah. You were right.
Plus, you got a room with Eddie.
No, because we were talking shit in the middle of the lobby because they're like, "We can't check you in for 3 hours." I was like, "Yeah, because this hotel fucking sucks." And then I sat there and I just stared at them until they gave us a room. And they're like, within 15 minutes, they're like, "Hey, your room has become available now."
Was that the same event that the fucking Marine Corps ball was at?
No, I think the Marine Corps ball was the time when your mom and you flew in.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's right.
No, this was the event where we drove all the tanks down for Vex and they won the tournament.
Yeah.
And we were also carrying pot brownies down with the tanks that...
I got that.
Well, that's when his back was all fucked up.
Oh, that's right. It was, yeah.
But we were driving through...
whole season.
We were driving through Nevada and there was some small town and then a cop followed us for like 5 miles and I was like, "Fuck, here we go. I'm going to end up on cops."
Yeah, but to be fair, while that was happening, I was like,
"Be fair.
Here, I need you to eat some of these. We got to get rid of them."
I don't think we could eat a whole pan by ourselves, but I would have gave it the good college try.
By the way, man, you owe me like $150. Yeah, no, Vegas, dude. I always had a great time in Vegas. Like the first time I went was with my mom for an MPPL event. Actually, was it an MPPL? I think it was.
What?
But I don't remember. I was there for press. Yeah, first time I went to Vegas with paintball was there for press, and that was the time I almost got beat up by a bunch of Marines.
Why? What were you doing?
Scavenger hunt, bro. Scavenger hunt. It was in the Riviera, and anybody who remembers.
You've been in fights almost every scavenger hunt.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's like, it's kind of what I do, you know?
Do they have a scavenger hunt for the MPPL?
They did that year.
They did, yeah. And so, like, you had to get a picture next to the Riviera sign, and the sign is like chicks in thongs, and it's just their asses.
Yeah, it's like a brass sculpture.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we cheated, and we went to, there's a lit, it didn't say which one, it just said next to a Riviera sign. So right next to the lobby was a picture, and it was just illuminated like, you know, a light box. And so I drop trow and look over my shoulder as Charlie takes a picture in front of like 200 Marines who are in their dress blues with their dates for the Marine Corps ball. And they were pissed because, you know, here's some drunk guy bare ass in front of them. And I think I even said something like, "Hey boys," or something like that. Because you know, I'm like looking back over my shoulder. And yeah, Charlie was like holding him back. "Oh, he's just drunk. Like, it's not you. We're doing a scavenger hunt." Yeah. We didn't even win that. I was pissed. We should have. Just for that, we should have won that scavenger hunt. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I missed the Riviera. That was a good hotel.
Yeah.
I mean, now you'd think now that it's closed, that footage has to show up because it's not a casino anymore. It's not a hotel. So
I'm going to look for it.
Fights on casino Riviera floor or whatever.
Yeah.
You won't find it, but it'd be fucking sweet if you did.
you got to put positive vibes out there.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah, dude, press was awesome, but it all just evaporated and went away, and I ended up with some good memories and a lot of access to a lot of events I normally wouldn't have went to. And if you go to my YouTube page, all that old shit is still on there.
What's your YouTube base? It's fuzzy, isn't it?
It's PB Live Fuzzy. Yeah, there's a shitload of videos down there. All those videos that I edited and posted that never got used. Lots of them.
Is there anything you're super... Oh, there it is. D-Day Obstacle Course.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking to Destiny.
Yeah. That was when they lost to Vex.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that...
And there was a controversial call. Yeah, that was like perfect example of like straight off the field. Hey, tell me about this. And there's like some short commercials, not really commercial, but it was like filler from like vendor booths and stuff.
Yeah. No, this is great stuff. The KM strap booth from Vegas 2012.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was the year that you were there, wasn't it? When I got beat up? Or when I beat up dude, whatever. When I got in a fight dressed as Macho Man.
Yeah, I didn't know you were dressed as Macho Man, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I wasn't even dressed as him. Like I said, I was so drunk. I was Macho Man.
Huh. It's just crazy to me that they wouldn't use this. Especially, you know.
All the work was done for him.
Yeah.
Because that's what I thought was that, well, I'm just giving him the footage and I'm giving him a shitload of footage. It takes time for one person to fucking go through all that and figure out what they want to use and edit it and all this shit. So I just shortcutted it. And I mean, the editing, you watch one video, the editing is very poor. But I was trying to just get them to use it.
Yeah, it's almost better if when you're talking about sending them all the footage.
Yeah.
And then they could...
It's a lot of information to fucking try to break down.
I know, but still, if you gave them all the footage and then, you know, they could pick and choose how they want to edit it. But
yeah, but then they wouldn't use it. They didn't use it. So it was like, well, okay, what if I do all the work and then you can pick and choose what you want?
So
and they still never used it.
With the other people that were giving content to them that they did use, like the guy from the East Coast you were talking about. What were they doing differently?
Woods ball.
Oh, so anything airball they kind of just shied away from, even though that you know, Mrs. Paxton was on the board of PB Live.
Yeah, and I don't even know why. Like I said, I was kind of held in the dark, so I don't really know the rhyme or reason behind any of that. But it seemed like most all the stuff. I mean, even if they were just like, it's not good. Like, okay, at least I have a reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never got nothing. I have no idea. But my producer, LJ, was just telling me, yeah, this is great stuff. Like, oh, this is awesome. But then week after week, it would go by and none of it would get used. And then by the time like one of those commercials, like booth reviews would get used, it's like 3-4 weeks, you know, they've already had another event. So it's like, well, that stuff is useless now. Like, anybody who wasn't there has already seen it on this company's website, or there's already 10 other people that have already reviewed this product.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know.
Yeah. Was Tomcat's editing better?
I don't know. I wouldn't really say better. You could go to his Tomcat Cunningham. I think it's actually Cat Shack Reports is what it is. And he's got a bunch of stuff on there.
Yeah. But there's no one deep-throating pods on this channel, though, like your channel.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the big difference, is that they're not coming with the big-hitting news of Thomas Garak deep-throating pods.
Yeah. Yeah, that's on there, too, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Is the donut on there?
The what?
The donut?
No.
Good.
Oh, this is Behind the Bunker.
Yeah.
He must have reported for both.
Yeah. And then that was about the time, like, we kind of faded out and Behind the Bunker just took off.
How's Behind the Bunker doing? Is it working?
It's still around.
Like, Tom, once PB Live kind of dissolved, Tomcat wanted me to do some stuff for him. And I was okay with that. He couldn't get me what PB Live did, but by then I'd already kind of created my own network. So it was like, okay, you can't get me a press pass, but I still know the people that I can still get in. And I did one event. I don't even remember which event it was. And I gave him a bunch of footage. He wanted me to edit it. He sent me his clip art to use in the intro and outro. I used all his stuff. But he never used it because I didn't do a write-up. He wanted me to physically do like a magazine write-up. And I'm like, why would I do that? I'm giving you video. Why would I need to write up on it also? Like, watch the video. Why would I need to write up something when you could just watch the video? That's why I'm doing videos and not writing for a fucking magazine.
Yeah.
And that was the one event. And because I never gave him a write-up, he was just like, yeah, no, I don't think it's going to work out. And I was like, fine, works for me. I'll go back to playing woods ball.
Yeah. Well, I don't understand what a write-up would do, but looking at Behind the Bunker, they have 164 views on something that streamed 2 months ago. Like,
yeah,
it's not 140 views, 62 views on last week's episode. Like,
yeah,
that's not even for the Pacific Northwest. And then if you got the Midwest that were coming into it too, I never watched the Behind the Bunker thing because I'd start watching and I'm like, this doesn't titillate me.
No, and it's nothing relevant. It's like two guys sitting around bullshitting about whatever they want.
Kind of like this podcast. High five, Eddie.
I'm glad you said it, not me, because I was legitimately thinking that.
No, our podcast is more than that, though. It's like every week we're interviewing someone with a specialty, like someone.
Yeah, and it's not just paintball.
No, it's not. So,
like,
I think this is one of the first episodes where we talked about majority about paintball.
Yeah.
Yeah, was I there for the second episode or third episode?
You were there for the first one, and then you were the second one, and now you're the 10th one.
I was there for the first one.
Yeah, the first one we interviewed John.
Yeah, that was the first one.
Yeah, and then I cut up the other hour that we talked after that into the second episode.
Awesome. I should check out the second episode because that's probably where all the meat and taters are at.
That's right. It's just you. That's really all we need is you.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that for years. That's why I tried to get into press. You don't need anything but me. I'll add all the spice. Although I'm probably pretty fucking boring tonight.
No.
No. So after that, you didn't go in with the Cat Shack thing. You're just like you just rode off into the sunset.
Yeah, I kept all my free merch from like the 2 seasons before and just rode off into the sunset. And distributed it to like Super Game, Skylar's thing, the WCPPL or whatever it was, WCPS. Whatever. What was it?
Yeah, the WCPS.
Yeah. The West Coast Paintball Series. Yeah, I distributed a bunch to him. Was like, listen, like because it wasn't like I was taking like only shit that fit me or I liked. Like, I was taking like for shirts, I was taking like smalls and mediums, like hats, same way, like, stuff that I could distribute that people would actually wear. So that, even if you wanted to say that I was just in it for the free shit, it wouldn't do me any good because I couldn't fucking wear half of it because it didn't fit.
Yeah. Can you imagine winning third place and you get, 3 pairs of triple
Small
XLs shirts that only fit Fuzzy?
Or in my case, we win a free shirt and it's a fucking medium.
Yeah.
And me being a nice guy, I go up and, hey, can I trade this out for, oh, sorry, that's what you get. And then I just look around and find some kid about the size of a medium. Hey, bud, want a free shirt? Here you go. It only cost me 8 cases of paint and a fucking $150 for entry, but yeah, here's a free shirt.
Yeah, and the paint isn't the $40 case paint. It's the $80 case paint for 3-star. You know what I mean?
To be fair, Skylar was never that bad about it. I think it was like $50, $60 a case, but...
Yeah, no, it is $50, $60 a case, but... a business has got to make money, and you got to set the price point. You're going to sell a lot of paint. So
no,
and the paint was okay.
Yeah, as far as I remember. I mean, there's even some videos on my page from the West Coast Paintball Series.
Oh yeah, no, it looks like you're talking with people that won or lost.
Yeah, or even lost. And like I interviewed Skylar a couple times, like talking about what they're trying to do and get out. Like I said, I was trying to provide real information that people wanted to fucking see. And the best thing to come from it was I made a name for myself in the sense that I would go to, like, I went to Oklahoma D-Day for the first time, thought nobody watched the show. Everybody fucking knew me. Like, hey, Fuzzy, what's going on? I'm like, hey, bud, how you doing? And people be like, oh, who's that guy? No idea. Never seen him before in my life.
Huh.
And like Super Game was crazy because everybody fucking knew me. And, now people are like, oh, well, yeah, because you've played paintball locally forever. Like a lot of it was because I was doing press.
Yeah, well, if you put out content, eventually, it's going to get picked up.
What's
like,
up? It's Fuzzy the
yeah, and so like I couldn't go to, like Super Game sucked for anybody that went with me because they would never see me because I couldn't go from A to B without running. I would run everybody fucking knew me.
So there's one of these clips called The Tradition at Huntington Beach on your YouTube page.
I just shared it the other day on Facebook too.
Yep.
Can you walk me through what this is?
So
him and Charlie.
our first trip down there was me, Charlie, and Dane. That was the first time I'd ever done press, and I ended up interviewing Tropics Hawaii, which Gary Baum facilitated. Hey, have you interviewed this team from Hawaii? And I was like, no, I haven't. And so he introduced me to a guy named Adams, who was the captain of the team. And they're all from Hawaii. So I did an interview about, what they're about, what's the scene like there. And super nice guys. Interview went great. And they're just like, oh, here, man, take a box of chocolates. And me and Charlie are like, what? And he's like, yeah, no, here, man, we bring a bunch of them every year. Here, take these. Like, have them. Like, thanks for interviewing us. So me and Charlie are like, and Dane are like, yeah, okay. And so when we leave, we're fucking starving. So we break into them and we're like, dude, these things are fucking amazing. And so every time I would see Adams at like Vegas or we'd see him at, Huntington Beach the next year, he would always, whether I interviewed him or not, he'd be like, oh, hey, Fuzz, hold on. I got something for you. And, Adams, he's like a big Samoan, like, not a fat Samoan, like the big muscular Samoans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's a big guy, and he's like, "Oh, hold on, I got something for you." And then he'd like run off, and then he'd come back out of the crowd with a box. Here you go, bro. Like, dude, thanks, man. Like, I appreciate it. And so it just kind of became a tradition where anytime we see him, like me and Charlie'd have to crack into him. So that was one of the years I was trying to come up with more content because we didn't have a bunch of content. So I was trying to come up with filler, and that was just one of the things that happened.
Is this the music that you're talking about?
What's up? It's Fuzzy.
I don't hear anything.
Oh, you can't hear anything? Hold on. I wonder how loud this is going to be.
Probably pretty loud.
The food stamp warrior. I'm here in my hotel room with who else? My buddy Charles.
That doesn't have any music. That clip.
You guys may recognize.
What was that?
That clip doesn't have any music in it.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does.
With me and Charlie?
Yeah, it says this. It's you with a green headband. It says tradition at Huntington Beach.
I didn't know that had any music in it.
Oh, yeah.
Recognize him from last year. Actually, you wouldn't because he was my cameraman last year. This guy made everything that happened that you saw.
Yeah, I can't hear
Yeah,
you.
it was this guy behind.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Is it kind of rock music?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's trust me, that's it. Yeah, that's it. And then the other one I used was like a news intro where it's like dun 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 dun.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Those were the two like sound clips I was authorized to use. So you put out, 20 videos and they've all got the same fucking intro, outro music. That shit gets pretty fucking boring. But a lot of the vendor booths, and it sucks because some of my best content was before I started editing. So that footage is gone forever because I literally just mailed the SIM card to my producer in California. And whatever he decided to do with it or not to do with it, gone forever.
Huh.
Like Griffin Spanner, when he was still with Alien, interviewed him when they came out with a brand new gun. It was like his first dabble into he was so nervous. It was his first dabble into doing anything on camera or whatnot. And he was super nervous. And I was like, bro, it's literally just you telling me about the gun. It's like us just having a conversation. And he ended up finally.
He's gone.
His phone died.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's picking it up. It's weird that it wouldn't send out the audio of the video to him too. Because
It should have.
It should have. It's there. You know what I mean? It comes through on the.
So, Tropics Hawaii has just given me macadamia nut in chocolate. And for those of you that don't know what macadamia nut in Hawaiian is, it's kikuyu chocolate. I don't know how to say chocolate in Hawaiian, but it's delicious. So follow me and we're going to perform religious a bit. Let's go. Oh my god, he got him out. Alright, let's take this fucking
His voice is so high.
Oh my god, get it. Oh, okay. Alright, I got one, you got one, you got one. Cheers. Oh. Macadamia nut, chocolate, green, we have TV Live. Stay tuned.
Hey, Alex.
More color from Tropics Hawaii.
We're just watching you eat chocolate.
So good.
It's so good.
Oh god, so good.
Oh, I was going to ask you about the Mars thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You're super psyched on the Mars helicopter.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, when you think about technology, how far it's come, that's pretty fucking crazy. The rover landing was pretty cool. We've already done it once before, and the way we did it now. But when we sent the last one over there was no footage of it. It was just kind of waiting on radio signals. And it was hey, cool, we landed. Awesome. But I was how do we know? I want to see how all these fucking stages worked. And now, this time, they're hey, we have a shitload of cameras to record all of this.
Yeah, I didn't know about the tethering system. I tried to read an article in the Atlantic today. It was so boring. It was such bullshit, dude. They're we don't have feelings about robots, but this robot is so cute. And I was go fuck yourself. Give me the details about the rover. And paragraph after paragraph of it's crazy to have feelings about a small helicopter, but here at the Atlantic, it is just precious.
I could give two shits less if the whole thing crashed and burned, but to me, from a science standpoint, it was just cool because it was okay, we're using a fucking sky crane. You're using a jet-powered drone to lower a vehicle the size of a Volkswagen Bug onto the surface of Mars. Like, why the fuck wouldn't you use a parachute? Like, why are we making this more advanced than it has to be? Like, so many opportunities for something to go wrong. Something so small could go wrong, and the whole thing fucking crashes and burns. So the first time, just seeing like radio signals come back, okay, this happened, okay, that happened, and it's like, well, okay, but like it worked out, but was it a close call, or did it like stick the landing? We don't know. All they really knew was that everything supposedly checked out and that we were on the surface of Mars. So there was like, I had all these questions. And then this time it was like, hey, we're going to put a bunch of cameras and shit and we're going to record it all. And then to see it like flawlessly unfold was pretty fucking dope for me. Like I was at work when it happened and I fucking like went and hid for an hour to watch it live. No joke. Anybody from my work watching this can suck a dick. I don't care. Yeah. I legit went and hid for an hour and watched it unfold live and was just mind blown. Like, holy shit, this fucking, like, it didn't just work. Like, you can see it. Everything worked flawlessly. Like, so amazing. And then this helicopter is cool from the same standpoint as, like, the Wright brothers flying. Like, the same standard as when the Wright brothers flew. Like, okay, we have this theory. It should work. We've come pretty close. Everything says it should work, but no one's actually done it yet. So from this instance, it was, I feel, a lot of the same as, like, real history being made, like, laying the groundwork. And then even listening to the briefing, I set my alarm. I woke up early to watch it happen, them get the information. Because it actually flew last night while everybody was sleeping. But they didn't get the information back till really early this morning. And so I set my alarm to so it would go off. I basically had to wake up an hour early than I normally do, just so that I could see the information come back in live of, hey, did it work? And I was really surprised they got some really rough video and one black and white photo where it took a picture of its own shadow off the ground. Like, okay, it's clearly in the air. But groundbreaking wise is just fucking mind boggling. It has to run at 25,000 or 2,500 RPMs to fly. And on Earth, it's like 600 to 800 RPMs.
Oh.
Because there's no atmosphere.
Yeah.
And when you see the drone, like, or the helicopter, you're like, okay, that's a pretty good sized helicopter. But then, like, when you see it compared to something like here on Earth, you're like, it's the size of a shoebox.
Yeah, it's super tiny.
It's tiny. And the fact that, like, it produces that much lift and it has its built-in heater because it gets so cold at night, it has to keep its CPU and everything warm. Like, it has so much technology on it and it's so fucking small. Like,
that was the kind of shit I was trying to figure out from the article, but the Atlantic was just so obsessed about how cute it is that I couldn't get any information.
I stay away from all that shit, and I either follow, like, NASA or Jet Propulsion Laboratories. Like, they're straight videos, discussions, interviews, like, of the people that built it. So you're getting, like, actual data, and I'm not a scientist. Anybody that knows me, I'm pretty fucking country boy. So a lot of that information goes right over my head, but I kind of get the gist of what they're trying to say. Whereas they're giving, like, hard numbers and, like, lift data and all, and yeah, okay, you know, that could be an empty shoebox, that could be a fucking anvil. I don't know, but you get the gist of what they're getting across. And
what made you? You being into Mars kind of blows my mind. I never thought that you'd be into space or.
It's you know, it's always bothered me. I'm not the guy that thinks, like, there's aliens out there or anything, but, you know, it's tough to explain. But the whole thing that got me going was when we sent over the last rover. That was kind of like, holy shit, just sending a giant balloon to the fucking surface to bounce around and hopefully it lands upright, and then we'll wheel it around for a week or two on solar power till it gets fucking dirty. You know, that was kind of like, what are we actually accomplishing? You know, we went to Mars and took a picture. We just spent millions and fucking billions of dollars to send something to Mars to take a fucking picture. Like, cool, neat. Like, we're not doing any real science. And the last rover we sent over had it's got a laser beam on it that as it burns a rock with a laser beam, it can read the color of the glow of it burning, plus, like, analyze the vapors and stuff coming off of it, and just by burning it with a laser can tell you what the chemical makeup of the rock is.
Shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so like that's fucking science. Hey, we're sending something there that now we're taking samples. Now we're seeing what the fuck shit is made of. Like, okay, and then they do like lots of panoramic pictures and shit. That's kind of neat, but they're, again, from someone, I'm not a scientist, to me there's no real science there. To a scientist or someone who studies rocks, I can't think of the name right now. It escapes me, but to a scientist that studies rocks, that three-dimensional photo, panoramic photo, would tell them a lot. They could get a lot of information from that high-def photo. I'm more into the, hey, we're drilling stuff, we're burning stuff, and we're getting actual data back from that. Like, that is a big milestone. And then now we're, like with this one, they've set this rover up to do shit that we don't even have the technology to complete yet. Like, this rover is going to drill samples, put it in a sealed vial for all intents purposes that's chemically sterile. There's no... It is one of the cleanest things ever produced on planet Earth, or inside these test containers. Because when they take a sample and someday shoot it back to Earth, they don't want any contamination. Because if they go, oh my God, there's life there, there's a germ or whatever, well, how do we know it didn't come from Earth when we sent it there?
Yeah.
You know, like if they open a vial and they're like, oh my God, there's coronavirus in this fucking thing. There's coronavirus even on Mars. Like, obviously it was contaminated before they sent it. So they had to be like no joke, the cleanest thing ever produced on planet Earth. And the whole goal is they're going to take these samples, deposit them into these vials, which are safe in the vacuum of space when they open it and put the sample in, because everything's fucking clean. So any contaminants they get from it are going to be from the surface of Mars. And then they're going to make a docking station. Again, this technology has not been invented yet. But once this rover has collected these samples, at some point in the next 10 years, 5 years, they're going to shoot another rocket, for all intents and purposes, with a landing pad on it. This rover will drive up, deposit these samples, and then some sort of a rocket will then shoot it off the surface back to Earth. So the goal is in the next like 15 to 20 years, we'll have samples back from Mars.
What do you say to people that don't believe in space and they think that, you know, like I talked to some people and they're like, how do you know though?
Well, you know, I don't, but if let's say it is a hoax, why would the government or private agencies spend billions and billions of dollars to continue to carry out this hoax? What do they stand to gain from that?
Because that's how they funnel money. You know, that they were like, oh yeah, we just put it into, you know, we put $1 trillion into going to Mars. And
into a rocket that never went there?
Yeah, and then we take that $1 trillion and we funnel children to this island.
Well, I mean, I also believe that there was a fucking second government on the grassy knoll, but I mean, you know, let's get into all kinds of conspiracy theories. The government fucking blew up the towers.
Tower 7, Tower 9.
Yeah,
and then
fuck, what was the other one I've heard? Pearl Harbor never happened. We bombed ourselves to get into the war.
Well, no, I mean, I feel like the Battle of Midway kind of like, you know, like there's too much evidence for the Pearl Harbor thing to be true.
Well, Midway happened, but Midway happened after Pearl Harbor.
Oh, I had that flipped around.
Yeah, we were out of the war. I mean, we were just shipping goods to Britain and a little Australia, but mostly all to Great Britain. The public wanted to stay out of the war, so Congress and the president were kind of forced to not be in the war. Yeah. And then once they bombed us at Pearl Harbor, the gloves came off.
Yeah, but we did that to ourselves to get into the war.
Exactly. That was, I've heard that multiple times, and it's like, yeah, okay, same thing of like, oh well, you know, Bush and all his cronies bombed the World Trade Center so that they could get into the war because, you know, Cheney was part of one of the biggest fucking arms manufacturers in the country.
Lockheed?
No. Started with an M. Halliburton?
Maybe it was. I think it might have been Halliburton, but either way,
Yeah.
I think I don't think either of those are fucking true.
No, but it's all, to me, it's all part of the same shit. Like,
I love conspiracy theories, but the more stuff goes on, like, how can you not believe in space?
well, I'm a pessimist, or I'm not a pessimist. I'm an optometrist, so I try to look at the positive side of things.
Yeah.
Did you get that reference there?
No.
I'm not a pessimist. I'm an optometrist.
I guess I'm just not smart enough. Do you get it?
I'm not a pessimist. I'm an optimist.
Oh, okay.
An optometrist is a doctor that looks at your eyes and shit.
Yeah.
It would have been.
Anyway,
it would have been
was
funny if it was an anus doctor.
Poorly planned. It's water under the fridge. Don't worry about it. But no, it like, to see actual real science being done is like cool for me, to know that, like, theoretically, like, my kid or his classmates will be directly involved in bringing those samples back. Like, that's how far into the future they're looking. Like, that's pretty fucking groundbreaking to me. Like, I'm a fucking country boy, but to see that kind of science being done is pretty fucking awesome. Like, that's real science. This helicopter, them proving the theory this helicopter can in fact fly on the surface of Mars, that's real science. They had a hypothesis. They tested on Earth. We think this will work. The data says it should work, but we don't know because we never tried it.
Yeah.
So they tried it, and it did work.
And that's what I try to say too. Is look at all the technology that we created by doing these missions that we didn't know we could do or could not do. You have to go out there and try something. So
yeah, and that's
making technology through discovery.
Yeah, and the cool part about this helicopters are like, okay, it flew. It only survives by staying in close proximity to the rover because the drone has no real data link to the satellite. It has to use the rover as its own data link. So at some point, this rover is going to have to go and do its actual mission on Mars to fucking look at the river delta there and take samples, find out what kind of minerals and shit were deposited. And if there are any, dead life forms as far as like bacteria or microbes, that's where they're going to be. So the question was, well, what is the role of the drone? Or are they just going to leave the drone to die? Well, yes, but before they know, okay, we're going to have to leave this fucking thing behind, we're going to push it to its absolute limit. Like, their goal is to crash it, but not just to send it up and then flip it upside down and drive it into the ground. They want to push it to its limit. What's the turn radius? What if we fly it into the wind? How does it affect it? Doing real science, pushing it to its limit, to its breaking point.
I get what you're trying to say there. Yeah, you're trying to explore all the scientific variables that you could with the rover and wear the tires off of it.
No, I'm talking about the drone.
Oh,
the helicopter.
Yeah,
the helicopter.
I like talking about the rover.
No, the rover. Fuck, that thing's nuclear powered. That should have lived there until literally the tires fall off.
Oh, I didn't know that was nuclear powered.
Yeah, it doesn't have like a fucking nuclear reactor on it, but yeah, it's you can't use solar panels because the fucking shit's gonna get dirty, and then eventually it's gonna, die. Look at all the other rovers we sent that were solar powered. They all eventually died. Not just because of the panels getting dirty.
It looks like the bottom's made out of cardboard.
Yeah, it does.
But it, that rover will live for a long time there. But the drone won't, because it can only send information to the rover, and the rover then has to send the information to the satellite, from the satellite to Earth. So with the rover going and doing its mission, the drone is kind of just left there to fucking die. So before that happens, they're going to push it to its limit and get real science out of the drone. How does this helicopter fly? How does it handle in the wind? How does it handle when we try to do tight maneuvers? So they can try to get some real data. So someday, if for whatever reason we did want to go to Mars, I don't believe Mars will ever be fucking inhabited as, a second Earth. People who think that, I think, are a joke. What we do stand to learn is what happened to Mars, because we believe Mars used to be a lot like Earth. So if that's the case, what happened?
Eddie, if someone came up to you and was like, "Hey, man, you want to be the first person on Mars? We're gonna send you with whichever." This is for Eddie. Eddie, who's the hottest chick of your dreams?
I don't know.
Megan Fox.
No.
You like the chick from Casper, but she's got to be like 13 when you want her, right?
No.
Mia Khalifa.
Mia Khalifa? Yeah.
Or no, Mia. What's her name?
Kunis.
Porn star.
Oh, you want Mila Kunis?
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be pretty sweet.
So Mila Kunis and you were gonna go to Mars.
Yeah.
Would you go?
Sure.
You got to stay there. You can't come back.
I get to bang this hot chick until I die, which isn't going to be fucking for a very long time.
Probably longer than you, bitch.
It's a one-way trip, bro.
So
you get a banger for like the year that you have left in your life?
hey, that's one way of going, right?
I guess.
You're saying that you don't think they could sustain life on Mars for 10 or 20 years to bang the shit out of Mila Kunis?
No. Well, maybe if that was the sole purpose, possibly.
Well, yeah.
Elon, you're doing it all wrong, dude. You got to think about Mila Kunis' power.
Yeah, I just don't see us realistically doing it. And it's like the whole reason we're going back to the moon is a test launch, basically, for Mars.
Oh, like you get to the moon and then it's another push-off point?
No, like, can we build our infrastructure to learn how to survive on a planet, right?
Yeah.
And then once we can successfully survive on the moon, it's the same shit when you go to Mars. The weather and climate's a little different, but it's the same principles. How can we grow vegetables? How can we create our own oxygen? How can we do all this shit, like, inside of our own system?
What?
Just ask Matt Damon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Dude, let's send Matt Damon and Mila Kunis up there with some live
One thing I did learn, don't ever send Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
That motherfucker crashes and burns in everything.
Yeah. And he lets people and he lets people rate his ship. He's a bad captain.
Yeah, you send him into a war zone, he gets shot. You send him in an airplane, it's gonna crash. Send him in a fucking spacecraft, it's gonna take a shit on you. Like, yeah. If I saw Tom Hanks on a plane, I'd be like, "Fucking get me off this bitch." I'll take the next flight.
Didn't it make you feel good though when he got COVID? He's like, "It's gonna be okay. I'm gonna get through this, and if Tom Hanks can handle it, anyone can handle it."
I like Tom Hanks as a person. Don't get me wrong. I like him as an actor, but like, I mean, Forrest Gump was like the only film that he came out really successful in. Like, in the film, not as an actor, but like in the film. And I think it was because he was in the film handicapped.
Are you saying because he didn't go full retard, he did well?
I'm just saying because he went retard at all, he did well. Like,
you saying if normal Tom Hanks isn't good, but slightly retarded Tom Hanks is great?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. Think about it though, like
you don't like
slightly retarded Tom Hanks was like ping pong fucking world champion.
He was
owns a multi-million-dollar fucking shrimping business. Went to war and survived being shot in the buttocks. Got to be with his high school sweetheart. Like, he fucking slam dunked that shit. Normal Tom Hanks gets killed in the war. Gets fucking stranded on a routine fucking flight for 10 years on some deserted island. Goes to land on the moon, fucks that up, barely survives to come back. Like,
gets kidnapped.
Gets fucking kidnapped. Yeah, you name it.
Some people would say that he didn't fuck up the going to the moon thing, but he got those crew back. What about You Got Mail?
He didn't get the crew. I was never a fan of that movie.
Me neither. I was forced to watch it.
I've seen it before, and I can tell you Meg Ryan's in it, and that it takes place in New York City. That's about the extent of what I remember of the movie.
But you're saying that he didn't get those guys back on...
He didn't. Even in real life, he didn't. No, the fucking ground crew did.
I thought that they had to make the navigations without the computer systems and just do the math. That's like why they're doing the math on the window.
Well, in real life, them as pilots, yeah, and go off on a total fucking side tangent. In real life, all the fucking guys in the Apollo program, their main bitch was that they've hired the best pilots on the fucking planet, and they don't even get to fly it. They're just fucking along for the ride.
Yeah. That is a fucking accurate bitch. You're just putting in ones and zeros and just going for it.
Yeah, and so the only reason they added windows and even gave them a fucking control knob was because they bitched and bitched and bitched and bitched in real life, and they fucking gave it to them. And then when we landed on Apollo 11, the only reason they landed was because they added that. Apollo 11 would have never landed. They had to crash and burn on the fucking face of the moon because they were heading right for a fucking crater field or a rock field.
That's crazy.
And they fucking took over. Like, they recognized, oh shit, like, our proposed landing zone is actually a shithole and it's not going to work out. So they took over manually and drifted it and fucking landed with like 2 seconds to spare.
Tokyo drifted that bitch.
Yeah, had they not bitched on Earth and just let them, because the original plan was to just send them. The capsule didn't even have a fucking window in it. Just send them there. They're basically along for the ride.
Oh, that would fucking suck just to die without knowing it's coming.
So that was when they're like, you have hired the best pilots in the fucking world, and you're not even going to let us be pilots.
I'd want to be able to look into Miley Kunis's eyes and be like, babe, I know that we haven't even pinged yet, but we're going straight for the crater.
Oh, as soon as the fastest seatbelt light came off, it would have been fucking on.
Yeah. In zero gravity? Are you kidding me?
Oh God! Like talk about a ab workout, bro. Yeah. You don't even have gravity. You don't even have gravity helping you in your favor. Like, you're doing all the work.
Yeah, they'd have to make you some type of bench with straps, you know,
like a spring in it or something.
Yeah, you get a robot that comes up and just helps you push. Just like at the end of Moonraker.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I'm good on that. I'll pass.
I say we all dedicate Eddie going to space though with Miley Kunis.
Fuck that. I like Eddie here on Earth.
I like Miley Kunis here on Earth too.
Yeah.
I mean, Eddie should stay as well, but like I can't do this show without him.
Maybe she's done a porn or something, but her as an actor, she's kind of an uptight bitch.
You think that?
A little bit, yeah.
Have you seen Black Swan?
I think she's just a dork.
You should watch that, and it will change your mind.
All right.
I think she's a dorky chick.
Well, yeah, that's obvious.
Yeah.
But
which makes her hotter to me. So.
Yeah, you've always been into the weird ones.
Yeah, that's true.
That's very true. Don't forget, you were my roommate.
Yeah, I know.
That's a whole nother story in itself, too.
All right, man. Well, it's like 10 o'clock there now, isn't it?
10 till, yeah.
Yeah, you better get some sleep, buddy.
Yeah, I got to get up at...
in like 4 hours.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, 4 hours.
Yeah, get some sleep.
All right, I'll try not to run anybody over at work tomorrow.
No. If you want to get in bed right now, me and Eddie will like sing to you to sleep.
My wife's probably not here, but yeah, no, probably not. I'm probably not.
If you change your mind, call us back. We'll...
All right. I don't know if I want that visual, but okay.
All right, bud. Have a good night.
All right, man. You too. It was good chatting with you guys.
Thanks, Alex.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
I have to be so bad.